got some seafood I had flown in from Maryland, and we're going to be cooking on pink Himalayan salt blocks. Now you have to be very careful with these. You can't close the grill. You just put them on the gas grill. You start out on low for 15 minutes, then medium for 15 minutes, and then high for 15 minutes to heat these up gradually so they don't crack. They're reusable and they add a marvelous taste to the food. Now here's all the ingredients we're going to be cooking with today. The first thing we're going to do, we put our salt blocks on and we've started our heating process. So while we're doing that, we've taken our asparagus and we've peeled below the heads on them, just taking off the thin outer skin, and we've melted a 1/4 cup of our salted butter, and we put 2 tablespoons of our garlic paste in there and mix that all up, and we're going to pour it over those asparagus, and we're just going to let those sit for about a half an hour. Now we've taken our Patagonian shrimp with the shells on, and we've melted another 1/4 cup of butter here, and we're going to go ahead and put in 2 tablespoons of Old Bay seasoning and about a tablespoon of our garlic paste, and again we're going to let that sit for about 30 minutes in that butter. Now for our soft shell crabs. All you got to do is get you some all-purpose flour, put a couple tablespoons of Old Bay in there, mix it up real good, check those crabs, make sure they've been cleaned properly. You pull that shell back on both sides, make sure all those lungs have been removed. We're going to go ahead and dip that in that seasoned flour. Then we're going to go ahead and made up an egg wash, a little bit of water and an egg. Going to dip it in that real good, and then we're going to put it in some panko breadcrumbs. Now you can use regular breadcrumbs for this. I happen to like panko, so that's entirely up to you. We're going to do that with both of our crabs. Now the next thing up is going to be our scallops. I got some beautiful sea scallops from Bobby down at our local Fred Meyer here in Port Orchard today. These things are just beautiful. And we're not going to do a lot with these because it's a delicious piece of seafood. So we're just going to put a little extra virgin olive oil on them, toss them in that. Then we're going to grind some fresh black pepper over top of these. Now after we cook these, when we plate them up, we're going to put a couple drops of white truffle oil on top of each one of these scallops. And I think once you try it, you'll agree it's just absolutely delicious. So with all that done, it's time to move out to our grill. As you can see, we put our thermometer on there. It's 375 degrees, and that's the salt block. So it's time to cook. First thing up, we're going to put our asparagus on. These asparagus are really thick, so we want to go ahead and put those on there first so they can get cooking. These are really good vegetable to cook on these salt blocks. The salt does go into the food a little bit, not a lot, but it does especially good with asparagus. Now we're going to go ahead and put our soft shell crabs on the other side. We want to get those to cook, and you pretty much have to time this. You know which stuff's going to be, the longest and which is going to take the less time. So these two are probably going to take the longest. Now they've been cooking for a while. Now we can go ahead and we can put our shrimp on here. Now the purpose in having the shell on these shrimp is that butter and seasoning will get between the shell and the flesh of the shrimp, and it'll just make them taste delicious when they cook in that. If you just took the shell off and put the shrimp in there, when you took them out, they wouldn't retain as much. You'll see once these start to cook and that butter starts to bleed out from underneath of that shell, just how much of that was retained in there. Okay, it's been a while now. We flipped our crabs over, we put a little olive oil on them. We're going to flip them back over and move them to the front. And then on the back, we're going to go ahead and put our scallops on there. We're going to sit these back here. We're not going to really sear them on here, but what we're going to do is leave them on here for about 4 to 5 minutes, and then we're going to turn them over for another 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, everything's done. It's time to plate this up. I'm going to take it inside, put it on the plate. Like I say, we got a little white truffle oil on top of those scallops. We got a bowl of Maryland crab soup there. Enjoy it.